Okay, go ahead, please.
Good evening. I will now call to order the May 8th, 2025 City of South Pasadena Library Board of Trustees meeting. Administrative Secretary Sean Fay, please call the roll.
Annie Chang Long,
Here.
Edward Pearson,
Here?
Dean Serwin.
Here.
Thank you.
So we have quorum today, and are there any public comment online, Sean?
No.
Okay, no public comment in the room either. So I will now declare the public comment period closed. Does anyone have any reordering, additions, or deletions for the agenda today? Okay, then we will continue to the next item. Approval of the minutes of March 13th, 2025, the Library Board of Trustees meeting.
I move we approve those minutes from the March 13 meeting.
It's been moved and seconded. I just have one comment, Sean, is
Yes.
that some of the items are written in the wrong tense. So I think they just need to be changed into past tense, right? Because I think typically they're in past tense. So I think this one is just like it's talking as if it's going to happen in the future.
So
But
under
it
like
should reflect.
your guys' comments.
It says like Annie Ching Wong and Min Sung Meeker to provide an update to trustees,
Oh,
but
okay.
the minute should read that they were provided.
Well,
Right? No.
you don't change the agenda,
Oh.
so the agenda is the same. We're not taking like informational. If you took an action, it would say you did such and such. But that's that's the agenda item as it was written.
Oh, so that's not a note on the agenda.
No.
Never mind then.
Any other comments?
Can we get can we take the roll, Sean?
Sure. Annie Chang Long,
Yes.
Dean Serwin,
Yes.
Edward Pearson.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Thank you. Volunteer appreciation event debrief. Were you gonna?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. Min's not here and she's a key player, but
Yeah, not here either, right? So he didn't.
you know, I thought I heard he was coming. This is just a little kind of the cost summary, just for your information. Yeah, I mean, I think that it was a really great event. I appreciate so much. I mean, Min did so much work, as did you, and
Min did all the work for it.
yeah, she did a lot. So, and I haven't even had a chance to thank her, really appreciate her for doing that. But I think that it was a good event, and we got a lot of positive feedback. People liked the time of day. They liked the format. Did you guys hear the comments, other comments?
No, but I mean, my own comment was that it seemed like the very right time of day.
Yeah.
Compared to what we had done in the
Yeah.
past.
I think it allowed a lot of the working people to come, like, at 4 o'clock, they left work early. They didn't have to come at 10 a.m. in the middle of the day.
Mhm.
So I thought that was nice. A lot of the new Friends board members were there.
Yeah, I thought it worked very well. I had to leave midway through, but I did enjoy it. Where was our difference? Where was the delta here? Because we're.
Oh, I
we're
didn't do it.
different
Yeah,
off-
I mean, so your budget, we're paying a number of those expenses out of other library budgets. So I just wanted to give you an idea. We spent
Oh, okay.
$21.50.
I didn't get a tote bag. Thanks.
You didn't take one?
15?
Oh, there was a whole table but maybe if you left early, you didn't see it. It was right off to the side next to the
When you
music.
came in, there was a whole table with all
Yeah.
stuff. You're welcome to get it. We actually have to buy a few more because, again, what we realized last year is that if you didn't come to the event, you didn't get any recognition. So we are mailing or making sure they get the program and the giveaway.
It was a lovely program.
Yeah, so all those folks will get that, and you can get that too. The friends that weren't there, I gave them to them in their meeting last time. So yeah, I mean, I think that expenses, we did catering, which is gonna be more expensive than if we went around and do it ourselves, so that's a decision made because we didn't.
Too much work.
Yeah, that's fine. So I don't know. I mean, next year, I think I put in the proposed budget, I think I said for boards and commissions, I think I said 2,000. But bottom line is, the library budgets, we have a special department expense account, which is for little random whatever things and things that are not a specific fall under a specific different budget. So it's not a problem, right, for us.
I
to
mean,
just
I
make
thought it
up
was
those
better that we
differences.
catered it, we used local
Yeah.
catering for it, and Min offered to make all the food, and, you know, that's not her
No.
role, so.
No.
And I think, you know, we didn't have other time to do other
Right.
opportunities to do that, so I feel like we should just, if we're gonna appreciate the volunteers for the
Yeah.
invaluable hours they spend, we
Mhm.
should just have the budget for it.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
But I heard really great things. I heard that, folks really liked the music and the youth playing in the
Mhm.
music and the fact that they got compensated. It was just another way to support them. And if you guys didn't know, the band instructor actually asked that we contract with them directly to help build their skills and being able to be a musician. So, you know, I feel like it was another way that
Yeah.
it was like, and people love the ambiance. It was so different, right? Versus last year with the music.
Yeah, that was really nice. I mean, we've had professional musicians before, but I agree. I think people
Is it
actually.
different, do you think?
Well, I think they probably,
I wasn't there last year, but I always think that we should be utilizing the high school
Yeah.
for
it's
performance.
really nice.
There's some very talented people that I'm gonna be at Monday. We're gonna have the jazz band playing on. And
We
they-
should do like
they
the
always do.
jazz next year.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you know,
they have
that's
some
like-
incredible kids.
Yeah, the parents, I knew some of the parents, they were so happy to have them
Yeah,
there.
it makes, it's fun. It's special. So I agree.
We have a
should keep
small
doing that.
community, so I think it enhances the volunteer
Mhm.
appreciation aspect of it.
That's true.
I think in terms of preparation, we have a little more work to do about collecting the data over the course of the year and having it in a form where it's kind of ready to go and get into the program. So it's not last minute, or not even last minute, just Kevin, I never got the list of restoration concert people this year, or, you know, we find there's a lot of running around kind of, there's no reason we shouldn't have that in order sooner. So we're gonna work on that, I think. And just our own spreadsheets and what we have going on behind the scenes to collect the data about the volunteers, which is, I mean, we literally ask every volunteer to let us know if they had hours. So for example, one thing that happened this year is there's a bookstore volunteer who is sort of technically retired from the bookstore, but
Do
she,
you ever really report?
well, they do, I mean, you know, she doesn't do her shifts, but she helped at the holiday sale. But she didn't tell us she did any hours, so we didn't invite her. So we also realized we kind of need our little emeritus list of who, you know, who is that list, who's on it, how do you decide? I mean, it could be a very long list, it could be a shorter list, but there's certain people that, you know, we should probably continue to invite. And so I talked to the friends about that. So they'll review the invitation list to make sure we're not missing anything. So a few little takeaways for us on the back end to just make sense. Yeah. That's great. I thought it was a great event.
Good, yeah. Thank you, and thanks so much for all your work on it. I know it always takes time. Next item, administrative policies review committee, since our committee is not here. I'm assuming we're gonna skip, unless, any
Well,
updates you have.
Does it say
We're
that
gonna meet
staff?
with staff,
Yeah,
right?
does it say staff can?
It
It
says
doesn't,
the
but
committee members were gonna provide an update.
I can probably give you an update. It doesn't say that.
You want to do it in your library director update?
Yeah.
Okay. Library Community Center Site Planning Project Progress Report. So Dean Serwin, would you like to
Yes.
give us an update?
Thank you, I
Yes.
will. We really don't have much of it in the way of an update, of much in the way of specifics, because we did not have a meeting in May. However, we have been running the charrette, the mobile charrette, I guess is the best way to describe it. I just came from there actually, and I worked it during the eclectic. We've had robust engagement. If you've had a chance to see it, you can see it. And it's almost done too well, because all the little squares, there's either a couple or just inundated. But that shows that there's some things that people aren't as interested in, which I was kind of surprised, for example, that people aren't that interested in having it be available as a space they can rent. Whereas other libraries we went to, it was very actively engaged in that. I have a feeling that if we build it, they will come.
Oh, anecdotally, they want.
Yeah,
us to use.
yeah.
Well, they want to use it for free. They don't-
Well, that's exactly it. But we're getting, get a good sense of it, and you can tell at a glance, okay, out of towners like this more than in town, adults like this more than kids, kids like this more than adults because of the color coding of that. So that's an excellent source. Do we know the number of people that
Yeah,
have
I have,
responded yet?
yeah, I have some updates on
Okay.
all of this. So the
So-
project management team meets every 2 weeks. So we met this week and, they always kind of go over the data so far and kind of show us what it's looking like so far. So, as of that time, it was 470 people had taken the online survey.
Okay,
And it's a pretty good representation of ages. It had been not very many teens, but Letitia has been, kind of making the teens do it. So we're getting some more teens on there. We noticed and realized there's the question, how often do you use the senior center? So, it's like 85% say never. So we're gonna try to look at that in the context of the 55 to 65,
Sure.
or 65 to 75. So they're trying to just, make the data look interesting. But yeah, they're getting good responses. I don't think that there has been, like, literally since the first time we've seen the preview, like the top 3 things are saying top 3 things. And I don't off the top of my head remember what they are, but it's like, yes,
it's not
things come
shocking,
to the top.
not shocking.
I mean, people want books. Yeah, so.
But so just for the purview of anyone who's gonna be listening or watching, or I guess we don't have are we on video?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes there's a TV. What we're talking about is the online survey and the mobile charrette, where you can take effectively the same survey, but without, there's no discrete aspect of it. When someone takes the survey using the QR code, you go, okay, so this person took it, they're in the 55 to 65 range, or they're in the 12 to 18 range, or whatever the ranges are. And what we can tell from the mobile charrette is this is an adult who lives in town. This is an adult who doesn't live in town. It's a teen who lives in town. It's a teen who doesn't live in town. Other than that, we don't have a much in the way of breakdown. But it is a great opportunity to engage with the public. And as I have said to anyone who will listen, most of our challenge is making sure that the public understands that this is actually happening, or at least as many of the public as possible, so that people can have that feeling that they've been involved in the process and not taken by surprise.
Since we last met, we had organized site visits for the ad hoc committee. So we went out in buses and did 2 days of visiting libraries one day and some community/senior center sites the next day. Which day did you?
I went to the libraries. I wasn't able to go to the senior centers. The libraries were illustrative for a couple of reasons. One thing that I saw in the libraries was that you can't go 10 feet without seeing a plaque of who donated for this space. So when people keep saying, how are we going to pay for that? We're going to pay for it by, in part, having people put their name on the thing. And that can be an individual, it can be a family, it can be a group, it can be a business or a corporation. And so that was enlightening and heartening to see that there is that much robust donation to specific build issues. It also was good to get a sense of the things that we're talking about with Group 4, to see them in place. One thing that was lovely was how the teen centers are done. They're fish bowls, basically, but they have a room with a door that can close. It's a clear room with a clear door, so you can see what's taking place in there, but they can be a little noisier than we would want them to be in the library as a whole. So seeing that kind of thing in practice was really nice. What I didn't see was the senior centers, and I don't think any of the senior centers were also library facilities. So that's one thing that I'm going to be looking back, because I know they gave us a couple of places.
I think Yorba Linda, which although I don't think Yorba Linda are physically, I think they're like on a campus. I don't think those two buildings are together. I haven't shared with this body. We have a list of like virtually links that you can go look at some other libraries that they prepared and we worked on together. So I can share that with everyone. So you can look at some other libraries that we thought would be of interest or comparable or whatever. And some of those include, it's one of the Bay Area ones that the most like what we're doing. And I can't off the top of my head think which city that is, but we'll send that out so you guys can look at that.
But it was useful, and I did get a good sense of the group for people a little bit more. I think also since we last met, we've had the in-person meetings, which were not as well attended as I would have hoped, but
Never.
they're never going to be as attended as we'd hope.
Mhm.
But again, those were also really good to see the acumen of these individuals that we've engaged to help us with this project. They definitely know what they're doing. They definitely know how to deal with people who ask a question that makes no sense. And they were very kind and diplomatic in handling those. And the questions that did make sense, they were very knowledgeable and forthcoming.
I noticed, at the open houses, they like knew everyone's name, and remembered, oh, Dorothy, I'm so glad, they really are very good
They're
with
very good at what they do.
the
I noticed
engagement.
that, and I was curious from the committee if we are good, because I know it's hard to get them to come to you. But I know we had talked about us going to them. So are we trying to go to like PTA meetings, to other like meetings?
We
of
did a-
folks?
we've done
We did a lot of that,
Yeah.
of reaching out and asking them to do this charrette, to do the survey, to come to those in-person meetings. There's going to be more in-person meetings on the second half. Right now, it's the ideation phase of, if we do this, what would it include? And that's what the surveys are for. And then they're gonna come back to us and say, okay, here's what you guys said you want, and here's what feasibly we could do. And that then will be the interesting thing, and hopefully we can go through this whole process again of getting people to come and
I guess I was curious if we can go to them, like, I know that there was concerns before, can we ask, rather than
bring
them
the
for
charrette
our
to
meeting?
them.
Yes, can we
You
have
could-
like 30 minutes on your meeting?
Yeah,
Or tag it on to the end of your Zoom call?
yes,
Present.
for sure,
and
especially like for
send
your
you a
local,
QR
for your
code.
own school, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, if your PTA is open to that, so we went to the council, like I know there's all these layers and I don't understand it at all, but we went to like the big quarterly PTA bunch. So we went to them.
School district,
What's that?
the one that was
Yeah.
news of the district.
So we went to that. They were super excited. Lucy Jacoby and I are gonna go to the Party Gras and do this there. So we'll see lots of parents. But yeah, I mean, people aren't necessarily gonna be very interested, but they asked us to come. They said, oh, we would really love you to come and do it.
There's gonna be 1,000 people there.
Yeah, I
We'll
mean,
talk to
couple
50 to
people
100,
walked by.
and it'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, I mean, we can talk more about it, but basically what happened is, we had a very long list of all the people we needed to go
About
and talk
50.
to. And we did the best we could, but especially with the PTAs, it was kind of overwhelming, to who's gonna go, like Julia Wang went to her school's PTA and Min was willing to do hers, but I don't know if she ever got it, it was just a little chaotic. So, yes, if you can help us get to your PTAs,
This period over in
June 1st. The
This round, but we're gonna come back around and we'll want to let everybody know that there's going to be that next in-person opportunity for another open house to see the results of these, that is the plan, right? Yeah.
and they can still weigh in.
And they can still weigh in
Yeah,
at that.
we'll go
point.
through a whole nother round of survey, different survey.
Yeah, so that was, again, the goal with that is to get to as many people to say, this is happening. And now this way, when we come back around again, they'll be, okay, you missed the first part, but here's the second part. It's really the second half of the same first part. So you get the opportunity again, give everybody another bite at the apple. And hopefully we'll get more people because they'll have remembered, oh yeah, you talked about that before.
And I went to Chamber Shop Talk this week and, Dean did.
I went to Spark and
And
to
Oneonta.
Oneonta Club twice, and I'll probably mention it again on Monday.
Yeah, I think one of the, different ad hoc committee members have signed up to do different groups. And so I know there's a couple groups that we didn't hit, Rotary, we didn't hit, but they were a lot of them were at, the Shop Talk.
Mhm.
So, they heard, yeah, it's just the outreach, there's a lot to do. And so if you can help, that's great. I can give you, whatever talking points, tools at your disposal. I've been doing a short PowerPoint. I don't know if anyone else has used that. Tony might have used it with stuff. So yeah, but that's another one, like we should go to the Preservation Foundation. I haven't thought of that, but I think it's trickling down, right? So if you go to Cultural Heritage Commission, that's Mark Gallatin is gonna talk.
Didn't we hit all the commissions?
I did all of them.
Yeah.
all of them. So, but yeah, the more we can do, the better. And I think one of the key points we make in the presentation is that, yeah, this is the first phase. We need to hear what you want. And then now we're going to come back and ask you, did we hear you correctly? And in a way, it's, maybe more fun,
Yeah, I
right?
think
Because
it
you're
might be
coming
more
back with
interesting
like,
if I could,
look
like,
at the,
yeah.
like a thing to look at, right? And so I think, we just, again, need to be just a lot of work doing the kind of the
Legwork.
publicity and the outreach. And yes, we should make better use of, trustees that want to help, friends that want to help, community services commissioners that want to help. And yeah, especially if you can help us with your local, your own PTAs.
And any other group you're part of, the whole
Mhm.
part of the community is that community is made up of a lot of different communities. Whether it's a book club or, a group of people that get together for coffee or go to RO for drinks, whatever, anywhere where there's more than 4 or 5 people, it's worth saying, hey, by the way, do you know this is happening?
So I don't know if to make the recommendation here, we can talk about it offline, but like I can take it sounds crazy, but to the Little League at the
Yeah.
snack shacks. I
No,
was literally
that'd be
just
awesome.
working at a
Definitely.
snack shack. And I mean, we have hundreds of parents and kids who I just think like,
That would be-
even when you go to the PTA meetings, you're not gonna hit the same parents, but we can put
When
that
is
QR
that?
code
When does that happen?
every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So,
Okay.
like, I mean, there's papers there, so I would probably ask the
Maybe if we
commissioner.
could get
Yeah.
like a 16 by 20 instead of the 8.5 by 11, so it's a little bit more.
I think I'm gonna, well, we can talk
Yeah, we'll
offline,
talk
but
offline, but it's something like where you just need to ask the commission, and then I think it's just the specific ask, rather than like, what do you think is the best case to do? Like, just saying, hey, can we put this, look at this flyer, can we put it here for
Yeah.
Little League, and then,
yeah,
you know,
you can just,
I'm sure, yeah.
you and
I
I,
just-
the
I just
committee
wanna,
doesn't
like-
need to be.
Yeah, if 100
Yeah.
people come through and 3% see it every time, that's 12% in a week.
Mhm.
Someone did AYSO, again,
Yeah.
different people. Yes, Little League would be great. For staff, I think, we'll have like a tabletop kind of phone board
Yeah.
postery kind of, so that people can kind of see something and they'll have the QR code, but we might do like stickers so people could just, and then the kids would have stickers. So that would be great.
Yeah.
So
There's
we
no
have a
kids
couple of
allowed.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. I mean, we have some
Like Party
time.
Guys adults on.
What's that?
Party Guys adults on. There's no-
No, right. I'm talking about for Little League.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Tuesday,
So,
Thursday,
yeah,
Saturday.
I'll think of other ways. I just didn't wanna impart too early if there was things already happening, so I
So
think
we're,
these are-
again, the main goal of this stage of the process is getting as much community input, feedback, and awareness as possible.
Mhm.
So anything we can do to get it out there, and I'll say this again, marketers will tell you it takes a minimum of 3 to 7 impressions for someone to have a chance of remembering. So, you can see the same person 5 times and then go, what are you talking about?
That's very much. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, literally the more the merrier. I mean, like you said, you're out there tonight and people are like, yeah, you already talked to me, you're hitting a lot of the same people.
I
But
have
it
seen it
can't
around
hurt.
though, so it's
Yeah.
good, yeah. I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
can't hurt.
everyone's- yeah.
They walk by and they walk by and then they walk by and then they
Right.
stop and you go,
Right.
oh, hey, are you local? Well, I'm in Pasadena. Do you ever use our library? Oh, sure. I was just there last week. Great. Here, would you take
Yeah.
a survey?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's
Right.
interesting, John would be interested to know, I don't know if I said this before, but just being like a city person on the streets, people have so many questions. We should have like a city Q&A booth at the market. People are asking me, when is the street paving project? Like they're like so excited to get somebody who from the city, and I'm like, my area of expertise, but it's just
You
interesting.
guys are always around. It's like the
People-
council members always around. I'm like,
I know, well, that's
"Surprise,
true, but these are people,
Yeah.
right, that aren't typically maybe very involved and
Sure.
don't go to council meetings, just people who are like, hey, you work for the city? Hey, I've been wondering. So it was interesting. we got a lot of those.
That's actually an interesting thing.
We'll come up with a rotating ask me button for city council members
Everybody gets
to hang out. It's your turn to wear the ask me.
I mean, it might be, because a lot of groups will set up a booth. It might be interesting to do a
I
booth.
am
once
not
a
even
quarter.
close to joking. I think it's a great idea.
I mean,
It's a great idea.
and we previously, there was an effort, the chamber will always give the city a booth. There's a place for us. And so at one time, there was a pretty concerted effort to assign departments to go and do it. The location is not great. It's like down by the kettle corn,
Yeah.
which where they let us do it now is much, much better. So it doesn't have to be council members, Public Works is out
Oh,
there.
where we were today, absolutely.
I
the
know, I don't
perfect
know if
spot.
they would let us do that on a regular basis, but we can ask. for sure.
Absolutely perfect spot.
Yeah.
Well, maybe for the reading program, summer reading program
Yeah.
would be a great place to set up.
Yes, and we will probably do that for summer reading. I don't know if they've got that already on the books, but yeah, the chamber is happy to.
Unintended.
They're happy to host the city, but it was just interesting how many,
Yeah, I mean, that's great location, as long as your visuals are vertical, right? If you
Sure.
have to set up a lot of tables, that's gonna be a problem.
Could you make us buttons though, like to the councilman's, like,
Well,
like ask me
this-
about the
this-
library?
The thing about council members is we, might not have full information, we might have different.
Or I just meant like
information.
about the site planning process.
Oh,
like-
about the site
Like,
plan.
for like the ad hoc committee, just
Sure.
aware, if you are open to being asked questions all the time, but.
I hate talking to people.
yeah. Yeah, and exactly, like you would be in a position of, we don't want to put you out.
No,
you
you
know,
don't wanna
but-
ask me my.
But the departments, different departments could be out and, whatever. So we're also busy, but it's a really,
Well, we have the, the app, the city app.
Yeah.
Which has a lot of information, and as long as we make a concerted effort to keep it fresh and get people to get their
That's
information from the app, it can be a good tool.
mhm.
Great.
Well, I will keep, asking folks, there's another.
Yeah, and I mean, I
Yeah,
wanted to
I'll
make
let you know.
buttons, but I.
No, I'm not-
I haven't had
I
time,
just
but
meant- yeah.
I've thought of it.
Yeah,
Our summer reading program shirts say, ask me about summer reading, so.
if we're allowed
great.
to, I could, like, we're literally about to make buttons for something else or for promotion. So
I mean,
if
we have
you're,
buttons.
I don't know if there's any allowance to not, they have a button, I mean,
We
can I
use it,
borrow it? Can I use it?
I mean, yeah, we can just make them. I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
just
can
need to, somebody
Not
just.
not you, like, I can make it, like, just one last thing for you, like,
Well, it
I wanna
has
know
to
what's
be the
appropriate.
branding, it has to match.
Yeah.
I mean, we have it all in camp. I can pretty easily make it. Anyway, we'll
Okay,
talk
yeah.
offline. So yeah, everything is moving on schedule. I think that the ad hoc committee meeting in June, whether it's on the first Monday or Thursday, or we do it maybe the week after, will be a really great public meeting with a lot of really great information. So
So we can point people to that meeting
yeah,
too.
I think
Yeah.
it will be a really
Okay.
good information. And Dean had pointed out, I mean, obviously those are recorded. I think we're gonna do it in the community room because, in the room we're doing it at the senior center, it's like a TV. It's, if you're way in the back of the room, right?
Yeah,
It's
no.
hard to see. So I think we're gonna do it in here anyway, and then people will probably
Yeah,
feel
'cause
more
that way you
comfortable.
spread out this way and get it this way.
Yeah, and they can show up and have plenty of space. They don't feel like they're, like in here sitting around the edges or something. So that should be a really interesting meeting. So.
Thank you so much for the update and just keeping on top of so many moving pieces.
All right.
Library Board of Trustees accomplishments for the work plan.
That's great.
This is that time of year again.
Yeah. So this is just last year's, last year's work plan. And, just for reference. Sean, can you remind us, what the instructions were from the city clerk about when and what we need to submit?
I'll need a moment for that.
Okay,
So it's recommended that we identify the accomplishments, discuss, identify 3 to 5 goals that comprise the next year's work plan. And then, you all will work on the work plan.
bring it back.
So we're supposed to have a discussion now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great, I love discussion.
Yeah, and I'll let you guys, take it away.
This looks reasonably, at least in part, similar to what we had the last time I was on the board 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And in the years I was on the board, there was a similarity. Number 2, we can do for the next 20 years and still be working on it, because there's just so many policies and there's so little time to address each one with the amount that it needs. So I'm in favor certainly of recognizing that is a challenge. It's not a failure that we haven't accomplished. It's just there's so much to do and it's such a worthy thing for us to do again. So number 2 should be maybe reworded, but included on there again.
Well, you missed a whole, elaborate conversation about the not making progress, this isn't working, let's do something different, which was,
I got that, because we have trustees that are
okay,
working outside.
yeah, so,
We had actually tried that with, I forget what there was, one specific thing, and it was okay, so here's the state, here's the city, here's the library, we have to
Yeah,
make
wow,
these
yeah.
work together, and I don't think that ever got.
not
Yeah.
yet. So
So-
basically the goal was, sorry, Sean, just 1 second,
Mhm.
was specifically to deal with what is the most important policy, work on it until it's done. And, obviously setting yourself goals.
So like I said, I think we should do that again.
Yeah, I do too, because we're not done with it. We're trying really hard and there's a committee, it's Min and Kenny and, it just takes time.
And really, number 3 is an ongoing.
I was going to say, again,
Essentially
we could
repeat.
change the words, but,
Yeah.
because there's going to be, the ad hoc committee is going to, presumably, the site plan will be accepted, maybe with modification, but accepted, and then we'll move to the design plan. So there's going to be a need for there to be a trustee liaison, and working with them.
What were you gonna say, Sean? Were you gonna add in something? Or Sean, are you going to someone else?
Yes, so the
Oh.
information that Mark Perez sent back in when was that? Oh, just a few weeks ago, was that the format is still being finalized, but the tentative timeline is going to be for September for the submission and review.
We have
So
some time.
yeah,
Or
they'll
the
they'll
next year's
provide
work?
guidance as details become available, but they just wanted you to begin preparing your materials and to reach out with any questions.
Is this going to be another big catered thing at the War Memorial that the
No.
city shouldn't be spending money on, or is this just gonna be, we turn it in and get it done?
I
The
don't know
Commissioner
yet.
Congress itself has been canceled, and
Good.
so they're still moving forward with collecting accomplishments at work plans, but there's no official event.
I think that, we have a brand new city manager, so there, that, I'm sure he'll,
The city can spend that
Shape.
same money
Yeah.
in a better way.
or, just, he probably wants to think about, should we be doing that or not doing that, or what should we be doing, or what has he done elsewhere that's been better? So, yeah, but that's right. We were told they're not gonna do that Commissioner Congress in that format that they've done previously.
But we still have to submit, the accomplishments. And when do we need, so this is the meeting, that we have to decide on them today.
No, we can, brainstorm them today and we can come back at the next meeting with both a list of accomplishments. If you don't think of everything now, you can email it to us. So we'll come back for
Okay.
another round of review because we're missing 2 people too. But I think Sean just said they're probably not going to expect it from us until like September. So we have plenty of time to work through it.
I think our accomplishments should recognize these 3 items, and then again, 2 and 3, we reword them, but put them back on. We did, as we just talked about, very successfully reorient the volunteer appreciation, so we can throw about that. And so I think we should be looking at adding what would be that first or third, depending on how we look at it, item for our work plan.
And I think we can ask Min and Kenny for the specifics on how they would communicate the accomplishments they have done, because I think there's clear things that they've sorted out
Yes,
and they've
absolutely.
compared and they've
Yeah.
read, and
They've done a lot.
we can
of work.
outline all of those things
Mhm.
specifically would
Yeah.
be helpful. So maybe if we can get that in writing from them, if that's
Uh-huh.
okay,
Uh-huh.
and then have it as a draft next time.
Yeah.
And then maybe for the site planning process too, if we can list like how many meetings Dean has gone to, the number of folks that we've kind of, yes.
And the
supported.
Well, we
engagement.
successfully transitioned from one library trustee to another library trustee, so that it was continuity
Mhm.
at the meetings. And we've been able to articulate the library trustee's position, because both Bianca and myself are not shy about letting, the ad hoc committee know what we feel would be in service of the library.
Annie, have you thought about whether the volunteer recognition committee should continue. I know we've talked about a lot of other things about like during the year, we should do a banner, you know, there's other things we wanted to do that we just haven't been able to work into the workflow. So do you think you guys are done with those
Yeah.
conversations? I mean, do we need to keep that committee going and have new goals for it, or do you think we're finished with it?
I mean, I think it's probably just, I feel like it's gonna be that event and things around the event, right? So
So we're
then
done
it was
talking
done
about
for, this calendar year. And then in the fall, we will start talking about it again for next year.
And we want to be able to talk.
I just think
offline.
it'll be hard to keep that going realistically from, being able to keep moving with it, so.
Right, well, and I don't even know if we need to have it for next year, right? Because anybody can volunteer, I mean, we decide who's gonna.
I mean, how did you feel about it? I feel like having the trustees take off some of the coordination and keep things moving. We actually got stuff planned earlier
Yeah.
this year.
No, for sure. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I don't know if you need a committee to do it.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think that's what
You can
Kathy's
just
saying.
say,
Is
I'll do it.
we did it once, so we know what to do coming up, and we can just say, hey, I'll help out, and we can take those same roles on.
But again, maybe the committee is good because you document, they had a committee and they did what they did. I don't know, we can think about it, but that was in my mind, is that maybe the committee is, again, not saying you're not gonna take on those responsibilities necessarily, but it might be someone else. I don't know if we need
Committee
a committee
establish
to do
best
it.
practices.
As long as it's only two of you talking.
I mean, structurally, I don't think you have the bandwidth, Kathy, to like have to. I mean, I feel like it's historically it was part of the board to recognize the volunteers and to do something to support you because, you're doing the day-to-day operations of everything. So I'd like to see it as structurally a committee that
Just
continues
keep it all
to like, and I mean, I'm saying me personally, I can't think anymore about volunteer appreciation, but I'm sure there's more things as a subcommittee of this commission that trustees could, think about it more throughout the year, like when I'm
Maybe we
not
could
here.
establish it as, instead of a standing committee, we make it a special committee that
Seasonal.
comes into play in December.
Mhm.
And I think I like the idea that it's just a structural thing, because when all these committee, board members are no longer on the board, you can say, we have this committee and someone has to step up and do it, instead of, I like that idea.
I mean, if
It's
we
just-
need a motion I don't know if we need that, but I
Not
feel
today.
like, something to just demonstrate that. I just think if that's a role, like I would want to support the community, helping to appreciate the other volunteers that are doing pro bono time, and we can do that pro bono time to support that, so.
So we'll just put it on our annual calendar, like a nominating committee, and we can just establish, who's gonna participate every year, whenever, January or December, whatever we think.
December seems to make sense, because if the event's gonna be in April, give a 4-month lead time on it, because the first month you're gonna be like, when are we gonna meet?
Mhm.
And then you can get things done and be done like 6 weeks in advance, ready to go. I love that idea, because that way, like you said, this is something that the trustees do for the volunteers, not the trustees tell the staff to do for the volunteers.
So,
I think if that counts as having advised you.
we've gotten some direction on maybe how to draft the accomplishments, and then you guys can look at them next week, and in terms of goals, maybe something, a little more active than participate, maybe, ambassadors take on more of a role in terms of communicating and getting out there, since that's what you're offering to do anyway.
And you can translate the volunteer hours into actual dollars too, right? There's actually a going rate in the federal government for volunteer hours.
Yeah.
I mean, not that we would do it on our financials, but just that, when you calculate this, you can say, this is the ROI we're getting for,
Right.
this investment, the budget we're doing. It's like we're, some amount per hour.
The only thing that's a little bit maybe tricky is that most of them are not our volunteers, right? I mean, we have volunteers that are specifically actual library volunteers, but I don't know if they're volunteering for the Friends,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
right? So I don't want to say, oh, the library got this many dollars worth of, because of yes, they're benefiting us tremendously, but not
Yeah, because
They're not out
that,
there.
those volunteer hours turn into actual dollars to the library.
Right, that's why we highlight what we highlight, but certainly for some, the volunteers we do have with the library, I mean, yeah, we could find out how much Chris, who's doing all the digitization of the school district materials I mean, it's probably a big number, and how valuable that has been to library projects. It's a great idea.
I just want to point out again, because I'm not sure, Annie, if you were suggesting that basically we leave these same three plans. I think we should, I would very much like to not have it be the same three, because then it looks like we're just doing the same thing year after year and there's no.
Yeah.
The 2 and 3 are definitely ongoing projects. But as we were just discussing, the volunteer appreciation, we reimagined that and we put that into place. So now we pro about the fact that we did that. And we add something else into that number 1 spot that we can look at. That's something that we can reimagine and make better. Because otherwise it's like, oh, we're doing the same thing we did last year. And
But you're right, it's not part of our work plan to work on improving it anymore.
yeah. So that's a
Anyone
great.
have ideas for the next one or else?
Well,
we can think about
what are
it.
the big things? Because I mean, obviously the ad hoc, because that's the next 20 years, we're looking at reimagining, funding, building, I don't know if it'd be, I think, pregnant at this point to be looking at what we could do during that transition phase. That's going to be a big challenge of where's the library going to go for 2 years.
Yeah, it's probably too soon because council will have to get direction about whether what.
That's cart before the horse.
Yeah.
So that's something that in maybe next year we'd be looking at, because hopefully by then we'll be, further down the line.
I mean, it could be a goal to do sort of study session and try to get your head around what that looks like and what that might entail. I don't know. I mean, you could, a goal could be to start preparing for what might be an
Or
eventuality.
investigating what others have done, because we're not the first place that has rebuilt their lives.
That's what I mean, just learning about it and
Yeah,
knowing
What
that
are-
this
what are
could be
best
coming. We'd like to
practices?
do some study, look at some of these things and learn more about what it all entails.
This is not really South Pasadena specific and our library specific, but I really would like to see us be tremendous advocates of the importance of libraries to the community. And I've got a little poster I'm going to show you later, but somehow making us the biggest cheerleaders for libraries.
I like that.
I would love
And I
that.
like what I talked about as something we put into number 3 here, because that is part and parcel of the it's attached to and analogous to the ad hoc committee. Okay, can we do this? And also at the same time be looking at, if this is successful, we're going to have these steps that are going to come down the line. So we're going to be getting our foot in front of it instead of being behind it, and make the number 1. Libraries matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned last time that I'm getting every day practically, tell your people to send letters, call. I think we have to find out what you are allowed to do as a body. I mean, obviously as individuals, you can do whatever you want. And I've tried to forward some of that, but it's so many, I haven't forwarded all of them for sure. But as a body, we can find out from the city attorney, it might have to be on the city's legislative platform, or I'm not sure. So we can find out, but certainly as individuals.
We wouldn't have to advocate for specific funding or anything like that, but we could be promoting, this is something that I took from all the revenue measures. The group can't, the city, for example, can't advocate for the revenue measure, but it can do all the education it wants. So we could, I'm going to say 98% certain that we as a body can educate our constituencies in town as to the importance of libraries historically, factual issues about libraries, changes that have happened in education and commerce and various other areas of life after the introduction of more systematic public libraries and maybe
What
statistically.
about
what's
like
happened without-
3 celebrations of libraries through outreach? One of which is to our legislative body. In other words, get our legislators involved in what we're doing here. Because eventually we're gonna
Invite them to be
want,
part of it.
we're gonna want them to be doing set aside grants, you know, some of those earmarks.
Mhm.
And it's good to sort of plant that seed really early. We're not any close to it yet, but at least.
Oh,
And the
we're-
trustees as a body can then go to the legislators, you know, Fong and Perez and say, you know, we just wanna reach out to you, tell you what a gem this is. And be a champion for it.
So that's where the city attorney can tell us where that line is in terms of educating people as to the importance of libraries and the importance of our library and statistics about our library and statistics about areas that are underserved by libraries as opposed to what we have. That's all great and general knowledge building baseline of libraries matter. And then the city attorney can tell us to what extent we can reach out to.
Right, but I use
Yeah.
the word that is really a problem, and that's the event. Is if the trustees want to have an event, guess where that's gonna fall, right? That's gonna fall on staff, so I want,
I don't think we want to do an event.
you don't wanna do events,
What we
okay?
can, what we can do is we can look at the calendar, so maybe this is something we can do. We look at the existing library calendar and look at opportunities for events that are already happening so that we're not putting something new on staff. And we could then be advocates to bring in people. So for example, there was a scholarship awards of the Erickson Photography Foundation gave out scholarships. It took place on a weekend. It was part of an arts crawl. And Sasha Perez was able to come to that because there was outreach to her and asking her to come, and it was part of education, and she's very big on education, so she'd be very big on libraries, presumably. So if we're already doing those things, we can then be advocates to bring the politicos to those events.
I'm thinking maybe the goal is advocacy, and then there's some bullet points under it, like, for example, we're not currently preparing any kind of annual statistical, what did we accomplish infographic based on we go to all this trouble to collect all these statistics and submit them to the state library, which depending on what happens at the federal level, that may all go away, but you know, it'd be really nice if you had a tool to when you talk to people about libraries to say, you know, so that's something that,
Infographics are great.
again, I mean, I don't want to have to do, you know, like I'm saying, but maybe that's something you guys could take some part of ownership or something.
There are people in town who have those skill sets
Mhm.
and are interested in donating their time.
Maybe how we get a volunteer. So that like might be one of the things underneath. One of them is you know, yes, starting to speak with elected officials and invite them to things we're doing
Invite
here.
one of their deputies to
Yeah.
a library board meeting and have just a special presentation for them.
Mhm.
They'll report back to the senator, the assembly member, and that's sometimes as good as having the political guy and gal.
Mhm.
Because
We could also invite someone from Judy Chu's office, we invite Enrique to come and because when we do this, we're gonna be asking for federal money if there's any possibility of getting that, hopefully, you know, in a few years, maybe there'll be a change. So it might not be a bad idea to invite them as well.
Judy Chu is holding again this year her annual,
Arts.
it's her legislative intern youth council or something. So that happens in the community room and they're always very happy with doing it here. And
When is that? Because we could maybe,
it's, well, I mean, it's her private event. I don't know the date. Well, I'll let you know. I mean, it's,
Why didn't I know she did that here? Does she always do it here?
she's done it, I think, a few times. They like the space. They like to do it here.
a young man from my son's Boy Scout troop, Simon, that Eagle Scout, who is or was one of her interns.
Mm.
So I can talk to him about that.
Yes, I forget what exactly the celebration is, but yeah, so I mean, I think we are making good impressions on the elected officials when we happen to have them. You know, they've given us a lot of great feedback about how they enjoyed working with Sean.
3 to 7 impressions for them to have a chance of remembering us.
I might recommend public education for wording for
Yeah.
the goal.
Mhm.
And just outlining some of the goals of it that could, share about how that public education influences decision makers, policymakers. But
And I will say a lot of, boards, friends boards are taking strong positions, political, like libraries need funding. Don't disband the Institute for Museum and Library Services, and the state library was collecting like proclamations, resolutions that these bodies took so they can,
Has our friends done that yet?
um,
I missed the
No.
last meeting.
no, they haven't done it. I mean, I think again, this is something where I would have to be like, here, here's what others are doing. And again, we'd have to find out what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. But I mean, I think at this juncture in where we are with public libraries right now, it's great for us to do education, but we're
You
kind of,
gotta find out
it's
what
kind
we-
of about prices,
What
right?
can
I
we
mean,
do as an
I think I'm
as
just
advocate?
mindful of what we're allowed to
Yes,
do.
that's all.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we can get some more information about, any, support letters that
Mhm.
we are allowed to
Allowed,
send, what's
exactly.
the words that we're allowed to use. I know
Exactly.
we'd love to, I'd love to have that as a motion and for us
Yeah.
to support that.
What we can always do is we can identify ourselves for statistical purposes as Annie Chang Long, South Pasadena Library Board of Trustee President, asterisk, just noted for identification purposes only, not making a statement on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees. So it could be that's every time, again, with all the revenue measures, when we get all kinds of officials and presidents of this and members of that, we have that little asterisk that
I
says,
just want to make sure we can discuss it
identification
at this
purpose
meeting,
only.
so, yeah, that we can discuss the development of that letter at this meeting, or if we have to.
so
Do it.
how do we ask
Yeah,
I'll take care. I'll find out.
the city attorney
Yeah.
for guidance on
I'll
that?
find out.
I like that idea too.
Yeah.
Andy Lippman in the South Pasadena Review is constantly sending good articles to the review, former trustee. And he's gonna be a trustee.
Yeah, he's a trustee.
Uh-huh. And he,
Yeah, I think so.
yes, he talks about some, event or a program like, summer reading or something, but maybe he could be
Yeah.
a person that
He's
we
always,
feed him some stuff.
yes, he's always asking and is always interested if we have something interesting. But I like the idea of, we'll draft up a goal, but public education and not, that's.
See what we can
That's
do.
the
Yeah.
umbrella,
Yeah.
right? And then there's
Yeah.
some things under. So yeah, I'll look into that a little bit. So what did we end up with? We ended up with,
That one we only probably need three, right?
so we're gonna keep working on our policies specifically. And I might word this, I'll bring something back to you, but what we're really realizing in the last, I don't know, couple of months is, in addition to getting the policy up to date, there's a lot of kind of procedural process pieces that hand in hand with the policy are gonna be huge improvements for operations and for staff's effectiveness. So I think not just that you're revising the policies, you're revising the policies so that,
Mhm.
right, we can see these benefits. So I can maybe describe that a little bit more.
I think three are policies, some rewording around how we are, exploring more and, doing that portion of the site planning, doing
Yeah.
research and being able to, look at more different library models and designs as like another iteration of participating in site planning.
Mhm.
And just advance research in case we're able to do this, so we're not caught flat-footed of what do we do next?
Right. Yeah, okay, and then public education. Which includes, okay, I got it. I think I have everything we talked about.
Yeah, I think it's good.
So we can look at a draft of it next
Oh,
month
yeah.
and then we look at the draft first before we approve it, or can we look at the draft and approve it and see?
You can do both, but yeah, you might,
Yes.
Next month is
you
June.
can even,
We don't get till September.
I mean, you could say approved with these changes, right?
When do we
So
need to submit the accomplishments by?
I think Sean said September, but I'll
Oh,
double
the
check that, but we have some
okay.
time. Yeah,
Oh,
sounds like we
okay.
have some time while they're sort of figuring out how they want to go
Oh,
forward
okay,
with
yeah,
sharing the
that's
information.
helpful.
Yeah.
Fiscal year 2025-2026 library budget. What was supposed to?
No, there's nothing in there. It's just,
Yeah.
I was just gonna kind of give you an idea of the process. So typically by this time in the year, we'd be very close to having a budget, to get ready to, Finance Commission would look at it, make recommendations to the council. We probably, I'm almost certain we're not going to adopt a budget for July 1st, that we need a little bit more time. So, which is fine. I mean, we just keep operating as per usual. So we're in the process now of, putting together what we need, what the department needs. So that has been going on. I had a meeting this week with that kind of preliminary looking at the library's budget. There's not a lot of changes, we're not asking for a lot of new things. One thing that's nice is, we've had funding to do an upgrade to the library public computer reservation and print station, printing, scanning, all of these technologies. And so we've budgeted for it, but we haven't had the staff capacity to get it done. So this year, we have a grant opportunity. I don't know if you and Ed might remember back in 2017, the cathode ray tube settlement, and we got all those computers.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a settlement, and the library benefited from that. We got like $29,000, and that's how we got all of our public computers and all of our catalog computers, which we had been using since then until we replaced them this year. So there's a little bit more money left for this entity. That it's a class action suit, and the leftover money has to go out to people who are,
Impact.
yes, side press. There's a word for it in law, but I can't remember things. Anyway, so that's a possibility, and I think what we'll do is all right. I pulled that out of the budget and was able to then take that budget money and, do some other things with it, because I think we'll get this grant, which would pay for not only the software upgrade, but also we'd like to get a really nice scanner, printer, like a really nice scanner for the public. So that's one change that I'm hoping we can get that grant funding. And so then we don't have to use the city's general fund money to do that project. But yeah, in general, sort of status quo, nothing dramatic that we're asking for. I am going to at least propose, and again, the city manager will have to decide whether that goes into what goes forward to the council and the finance commission, the council, but I am going to ask for funding for the other 18 hours a week of security guard. Because, we've got 40, we're open 58, so 2/3 of the time we have someone, the other third of the time we don't. I had Olivia pull some data for me, and so they come in typically later, like at 2:00. So we looked at how many incidents are happening between like 10 a.m. when we open, and we actually looked at 10 to noon, and it's 20%. So that means that, and that's only 10 to noon, not 10 to 2. So a lot of stuff goes on without us when we don't have a security guard. So for us, it would be really great to have somebody all the time. I mean, I know you guys probably come in and see him and he's like, doesn't have anything to do, but there's a big deterrent piece that's happening, and we're seeing that, we can see it. People are behaving differently just because the person's here.
You might want to emphasize that in that 10 to noon and 10 to 2 area of time, that's when most of the youngest users of the library are here. A lot of young families that might have newborn to infants to toddlers are coming for story time. I would think that would be the most desirous time, or one of the more desirous times, to have someone here as a deterrent to that behavior.
Possibly. I think that for us, it's more, because the children's room is a little bit segregated. They go right in there typically. it's
I just
typically,
meant in terms of an
yeah, like
advocacy.
why
point.
we would,
It's like,
yeah.
we got all the little kids here and no
Yeah.
security guard.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I think that the statistics make it clear, we have problems at all times of day. The most problems probably later in the afternoon. The software, the incident tracking software that you guys, you designated some of the Romine or Mullen funds for that. We're finally getting ready to roll that out. It's gonna be a huge help, and it's also gonna be extremely helpful for demonstrating what goes on here and what do we need and not need. So we'll see, that, but I will try to put that in the budget request. So I just want to let you know, we're not going to be, the likelihood is, my understanding is we're not going to adopt a budget to start July 1st, but sometime after that, maybe in August or something. So I just want to let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we might see something next month, maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just want to roll into the library operations update?
I
know
do.
you did some of that.
Yeah, I have a few things, especially since we didn't meet last month. In fact, I don't even remember what it would have been last month, but I'll let you know that we've, finished some of our hiring. So we now have filled the vacant part-time children's librarian position, so that we have our full-time and the 2 part-time fully staffed, and that's great. We have hired a few more of our kind of substitute librarians that are, helping to fill out those public desk hours, 58 hours a week in 2 locations. So like our own 2, 3 librarians can't do all that. So filled a couple of those positions, which is great. I think we have filled our aide positions. So I think we have all 10 aides for the first time in,
That's been a long time.
yeah, I don't know how long. So in fact, I was looking as part of the budget process, you're looking at how much have you spent, and it's very underspent on the part-time budget because there was no one to pay. So you can really see those numbers and realize, oh my gosh, you didn't have any people this year. So that's great to have the staff coming on board, very exciting. For some of the building projects, just an update on the status, we have a project manager that Public Works brought in to, as a consulting person to help us manage all these projects that CIP, there's funds, but you gotta get them done. So, part of that is the stuff we're going to be closed next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're doing the floor outside the bathroom and the teen room, finally. So that's happening next week, which is super exciting. I just today looked at the design for the gate, the gates on the balconies. And very excited about that because those will just be off limit, I mean, we might hear about it from families who like to run around up there, but the balconies will be not accessible anymore. So
That's happening next week.
well, no, the drawings are done. Like we're getting ready to give them the notice to proceed and to fabricate them. But I just saw the drawings for the first time
Can those
today.
be brought to us for next month so you can at least see what's going in?
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, I'll see what, yeah, yeah, I can bring that for sure. So that's exciting. What else is going on? They've hired the architect that's doing the design work for the ADA ramp improvements. So, figuring out what needs to happen over there, what the lighting, what's happening. So they're doing the design work, it's not the construction documents or the, or the below grade waterproofing, like that's phase 2. So they're just doing the design work now, but that's in progress. Let's see, what else is he doing? The roof, we still need to really replace the roof, and I think everyone's come to terms with that. So figuring out when to do that and the money and everything. So that's happening, which is great. Huge thing is that we now have air conditioning, supplemental air conditioning in the children's room, which as a parent, you may know that it's like 10 degrees hotter.
Hot there.
Yes,
I didn't know there was an option to make it.
Well, no one, I mean, right, like you have to have someone who's gonna advocate for the staff and for the,
Yeah.
so, yes, we have air conditioning. I mean, it's incredible.
Is it fun or is it just like a?
It's like mini
portable
splits.
unit?
It's like,
Oh.
yeah,
Those mini splits can be so much more efficient.
they put 2,
So we have like.
there's a big, the unit is out in the courtyard and there's 2, whatever they call it, where the air comes out. So yeah, everyone is excited. I mean, it's really
For
awful. I mean, it's
summer.
awful.
It'd be great for Saturday.
Yeah, it runs about 8 degrees hotter. So if we have the temperature, it's 72 where it's supposed to be 72, that means it's gonna be 80 or 82 in there all summer with kids. And so huge, huge, big deal. And again, just there's so many of these projects. These are all things we've needed to do for the last 8 years that I worked here. And to suddenly finally have them happening is just, we almost can't believe it. It's so exciting. It's really exciting. So the project manager has just been great. It's a lot of work for staff having all these things happening. I have for the work next week, like who's coming when and what, it's a lot to be kind of having to advise and be involved in all of these things, but we're really excited that they're happening. Oh, and the other big one is the security, like electronic key card access, panic button, all of these kinds of security things. That is hopefully going before council to award a little contract in maybe in June. So that's super exciting too. Like new security cameras too, as part of that. Not lots of new locations, but just better cameras because the cameras we have are not very good quality. So when we're trying to capture still images of what went on, they're not great. So that's really exciting and is on the horizon as well. Just so you know, during the closure, we're closed to the public, obviously, but the staff will be working and we have so much we want to do. Like we can't, you can never do anything. And so with the public here, so having the public out, it's like this huge opportunity to have a staff meeting, complete projects that we can't complete in the normal course of things. So we're going to fill those 3 days with all kinds of activities that we need to work on. So that's what's happening. And the teen rooms should be really nice. We haven't really had time to do a lot of like publicity and the fun parts that this is coming, we'll come back and see it, but we'll celebrate it when it's done though. We're doing the best we can. So
will it be done next week or is it just partially?
It should be, I think that it should be done. I mean, there's a few little like, well, if they can't finish the carpet on such and such a day, there may be a few little things, but the hope is that it will be finished at the end of next week. So unless something happens that we're not expecting, it should be done. Yeah.
You go on a tour when it's next month, maybe?
Yeah.
Or send out a video.
Yeah, we have to do some fun stuff. Yeah, we'll do some fun stuff. I hope it looks good. We picked all the furnishings and the colors. Like, I don't know, it's gonna be the paint. I don't know. Hopefully when they do it, it's not like, oh gosh, it's bright. There's some bright colors. So we'll see. It's gonna be better than what we have. The ceiling is painted like this brown, right?
It's very dark.
So they're gonna,
Kind of creepy.
the
Yeah, it's
ceiling will
dungeon,
be
right?
white. I mean, it's gonna for sure be a lot brighter. And the friends are helping us, like we're gonna quote unquote neon sign, it's LED sign that looks like a neon sign will be like on the wall. It'll say like teens, go here. So the friends are helping us with some of that part of it, kind of the finishing touches, signage they're gonna help with. So yeah, you'll have to come and see it. We're excited. I'll let you know. I'll send you pictures. We'll be doing like as it goes next week. We'll take lots of pictures and I'll send you pictures. And I think that a summer reading program, I guess I should say, and I don't have that handy, but I think it starts June 2nd. And because we've had a team in place and not had vacancies, everything is in shape and ready and not behind schedule. So Letitia is going to be at the schools shortly. They're doing, I think they started this week doing the teen volunteer orientations. So summer reading program is going to be great. And that's, I think, where we are. I'm sure there's other things happening, but those are the things that I thought I would let you know about.
Was there anything else from the policy review too? You know, mention. I know that
Yeah,
they were thinking about meeting with staff at one point last month.
No, we haven't had it.
Or okay.
But so one of the things that I think what I was thinking, I would just tell you is, as I mentioned, while we're closed, we have an opportunity to actually get people in the same room and spend time without being like, well, we open in 10 minutes. So I'm trying to put together as much of an all-staff meeting as I can, all the part-time people can't be here, but, we'll definitely be talking a lot about that kind of stuff, every time some incident happens, we learn. Again, it's so important to have the tools that help us manage these things, and our tools are not great, our rules are not great, our municipal code is not a good tool. So I think that what we find is people are not on the same page. They don't know how to interpret rules. Like it's really, we have a long way to go, right? To do a better job of all this. So I think we need to have some conversations with all the staff, and we're also going to then launch our incident tracking software and introduce everybody to that. So we can do that in a leisurely way versus, trying to frantically get people in a room and show them that. So we're really excited about that software. It's going to really make a big difference for everyone. And again, in terms of having tools to help us manage these things, it's a really important one. It's going to make a big difference. So just so you know, we're still always dealing with.
I mean, if
these
it's
issues.
allowable, maybe it's worth asking, Min and Kenny, when you reach out to them about the updates, if.
Yeah, I haven't, so for example, we've drafted the types of incidents, right? So if an incident happens, is it this or this or this? And I want them to look at that because I want to make sure that that list is corresponding to the rules that they are working on. So
I see. Okay.
they have to go right? They have to go together. We want to make sure all pieces align, which is sort of one of our issues now, is that they don't align. So anyway, there's just a lot for us to talk about, and we had an incident last week, I think, that just made us think about, we need to have this conversation with the staff about, it's a lot, right? I mean, we're not trained to handle this stuff, and everybody is coming to these things with different backgrounds, levels of sensitivity to what happened or didn't happen. So it's a work in progress, but I think that this effort to improve the tools at our disposal is really important. So I really appreciate the committee working on what they've been working on. But yeah, we need to show them, and we'll show you guys too once we get it like up and running, because it's kind of fun. We'll do a little demo and I can show you what it's like. I think that's probably what I want to say about that.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to commend you on some of the graphics you're putting out about that closure. I've got it right here. And I don't know if you've seen this, but
I did.
that's really,
Kind of scared me at first.
no, I think that's really
When
good.
it works,
'Cause
it works.
Yeah, because it's
It
like,
works.
hey, what's.
I read it. I had to read it.
Okay, good.
Well, that's my graphic design, the extent of my graphic design capability. That's it.
Really lovely, really lovely.
Improving, great, getting better, good skill set.
So we'll finish off with communications. I guess for me, just thank you. I know it's been really busy and we didn't have that meeting last week, but hopefully it helped a lot because I know that so many things were happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And the library appreciation event was so great, and I was going to thank Kevin too because I think he did a great job just engaging with all of the friends and bringing out new friends, experiences. So I just feel like it was a really great way to celebrate. It felt a little bit different this time. So I don't know if it's the time, the music, and what it was, and the new folks that came out from the friends too that were able to make that time. But it was really good. And I'm super excited because my son's going to be a library summer volunteer this year. And it was such a wonderful process. So thank you to Letitia. Like, it was just so wonderful, so clear, so organized. And the parents all knew there were reminders, which is what I needed. And so, yeah, just thank her for us. It was really great process. I don't know what it was like before. It was a great process.
Well, I mean, Maida had things.
Oh yeah,
We've had some because of staffing turnover. There's
Right.
been some bumpy little.
yeah. I felt
years,
Letitia was prepared for it, and like
Letitia
like
is
new,
superstar.
yeah. So yeah, and I heard the training was great. So
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. Other board members, Dean, anything updates?
Library is under attack. Librarian of Congress was fired today.
I haven't seen that. I don't have time to check the news during the day.
I just saw that.
Shocking.
Um,
It's shocking out.
libraries are under attack.
Yeah.
So We as individuals can do what we can do, but it would be really lovely to hear from city attorney what we can do as a board. We are a small little town, but we're a small little town that has a lot of well-off people who can also make noise. So the more we can do to sound the notice of the attack on freedom of thought, expression, and speech.
Thank you for that.
Well, and that actually
Teeing you up.
goes,
Tee-
yeah,
there
team
we
me
go.
up. This is a poster with a quote by Kurt Vonnegut. It doesn't have the entire one, and I'm gonna read the entire one. And on the subject of burning books, I want to congratulate librarians, not famous for their physical strength or their powerful political connections or their great wealth, who all over this country have staunchly resisted anti-democratic bullies who have tried to remove certain books from their shelves and have refused to reveal to thought police the names of persons who have checked out those titles. So the America I loved still exists, if not in the White House or the Supreme Court or the Senate or the House of Representatives or the media. The America I love still exists at the front desks of our public libraries. So that's the kind of thing I want to see all over this library somehow.
Yeah. I will say that, Ed, I know you've seen it. You did that training through the ALA. You know, they have the United for Libraries, which is their division for boards and friends. So when I renewed my membership, I added that in. So I have access to that whole site and I can give you my login. You guys can look at those resources and see what they're saying, because of course they're kind of ramping up and trying to give you guys tools to help us.
I don't know how long Kurt Vonnegut's been dead, but this sounds
Kinda
like he
sad,
wrote it
right?
today.
I know.
That's what's frightening is
Yeah.
that this is not contemporary.
Right.
I have a couple things that are a little lighter. One is the,
Cute as hell.
I got this a while back, but the tote bags.
It matches your token.
Yeah, it made me think, oh, I got this, I'm gonna bring it.
They don't make those anymore.
okay.
I like went to great lengths to get myself like a set. And they don't make them anymore. They're very cute.
And then, I'm sorry it takes so long, but, some library trivia. Before the invention of paper, the thin inner bark of certain trees was used for writing. The Latin word for this paper equivalent was liber. This later took on the meaning of book. And the library became the place for books, and a librarian became the keeper of books. It's all from tree bark.
That's interesting.
And then the other thing I want to say, and I had no idea who Percival Everett was, and thank you for sending that today. We have a Pulitzer Prize winner in town.
Multiple Pulitzer.
The other,
He won the National Book Award.
Oh, National Book Award, sorry.
well, a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a show on KUSC. It's a national show called From the Top, Young Musicians. And we are now going to hear from so-and-so Lacey, an 18-year-old violinist from South Pasadena, California. I guess this woman, or this 18-year-old, is just an outstanding violinist. I don't know anything about her.
That's
I think
interesting.
we need to
had
know
the
more about
opportunity
it.
to meet her.
Did you?
She unfortunately did not receive the Oneonta Club
Oh.
scholarship, but she didn't really need it because she's got a lot of other scholarships. Because I've been involved with those. We meet 10 graduating seniors each year. I've been on the interview committee for I think 4 years now, so I've met 40 of them. You would think she was a 30-year-old professor who had just, not in a stuffy way, just in the level of poise and grace that she brought into the room. Just an outstanding person and musician.
Does she go to the high school? Does she go to South Pass High
I
School?
forget, yeah, she does.
She does.
But she mentioned that she was going to be on an NPR show.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're going to hear big things about her going forward. Hopefully she'll come back to do a illustration concert.
So we're a pretty cool city.
Thank you so much. I love all the, it's always, can't wait to hear what the updates.
You have more of those?
No, but
I'm gonna take a picture of it.
Yeah, that's.
You know that you can go
Yeah,
and have a
on
poster
social media.
size one day each week down at the maker space of the LA Public Library.
That's another thing I want to say. One of the big benefits of being on this uh, trustee board is I'm learning about things. I've never heard of maker spaces. I've never heard of charrettes. So now I've got new things that I've learned about.
You're gonna take those words to other meetings.
Yes,
and
I
introduce
am.
them over there.
Yes, I-
The makerspace was a big deal on our 5-year strategic plan. People that said they were interested in it.
It's a library of things, not so much makerspace, but people at the kiosk board have been talking about makerspace.
Again, I would encourage you to go check out what is it, the Maybell, it's got a. it starts
The
with an M.
Octavia Butler.
Octavia Butler.
Yeah,
I don't know
at
why,
LAPL.
I keep thinking everything starts with an M. It's talking to somebody named Charlotte, and she's like, no, my name's Charlotte. I'm like, okay.
Where is that? Is
Sound-
that
That's
downtown?
that's the makerspace at the downtown public library. It is almost the size of our main reading room. It has two audio podcast booths, a video podcast booth, what you call it, a very large, my brain is going dead, 3D printer. And a poster size printer that anyone can once per week make a poster. So, a 2x3 foot poster.
And if we ever want, I mean, the ad hoc committee wanted to visit LAPL, so if we ever want to do that, that's an easy one. I don't have to rent, I don't have to get a bus, we can just go. So, let me know, they're happy to, I talked to the deputy director and she's happy to put something together for us and show us, the things that we're interested in versus just like their general normal
Sure.
docent tour, which is fantastic. Their docents are fantastic, but, so we can go see behind the scenes and different things if we want. Just let me know.
So cool. City council liaison updates.
4 things from last night. The city, approved the contract in theory to receive 2 self-cleaning toilets that will be public toilets out on the plaza near the metro station. They are provided through Metro at no cost because of funding in the run-up to the Olympics and the World Cup. So they want to make sure we have places around the Metro stops. The placement of those rather large, sort of 2 very large restrooms is going to be on that plaza, which, as I was looking at farmers market today, I thought that's going to be plunk in the middle of a lot of people. We don't have a lot of sighting alternatives because it has to be within sight of the Metro cameras, security cameras, and it has to be serviceable because they clean it like once a day or twice a day, and there's a truck that actually has to drive up onto the pavement. So pretty exciting, although I think maybe visually it might look a little blighted to have that plaza just have 2 big light blue toilets sitting right there, but it's all for public amenities. Second thing is the city modified slightly, provide clarification on the tree trimming ordinances to allow the public works director to determine a tree is dead and can be removed. So it doesn't have to go through commission review to remove a tree. That was inherent in the law already, but it needed to be put in the code just to make sure that public director had that power. A little controversial because because it's trees, it's South Pasadena. Anyway, it passed. The city also approved a settlement agreement for a multi-unit type development in the Altos up on Camino del Cielo, which is kind of a first type of settlement agreement the city has done to avoid a builder's remedy lawsuit. So all the housing development laws have become super favorable to developers. The city doesn't have a lot of discretion. The city can't force a lot of review. The city has to do ministerial approvals. So we had 3 closed session meetings over the last year and a half on this project. The settlement agreement was the best thing that came out, best deal we could get in a very difficult environment, and we approved it. Neighbors are not happy. But at least we won't have to go to litigation with the developer. There's also we also approved 2 or 3 new positions in Public Works and some compensation adjustments to create a better delivery system for our Public Works projects. So the city manager took a look and did some of those things. And then I mean, I cover all of them. And then I just gave a report at the end of the meeting about my trip to China as chaperone with 68 high school students from South Pasadena, and how wonderful it was to just sit and get to know Chinese students, Chinese teachers, see the schools, experience the culture, and really experience a friendship that really needs to exist and it needs to transcend our political differences. And that's really important for people to remember at this time.
So much. Can I ask you, are the toilets, those were all great updates, but I'm curious if the toilets are permanent or if they're only here through the Olympics?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I mean, they are self-contained units with lots of modern tech. It's called the Thrones.
It was very
Underneath the
funny.
brand name?
Council, you guys have to keep, talking about the throne.
And it's light blue, and we're trying to figure out, can we get a wrap
I
around it?
was just gonna ask, can we
Yeah,
modify the exterior?
Yeah, I mean, let's get Spark on the job,
But I don't imagine.
so I don't know. So
Because I've seen these in other cities,
Yeah.
but they're done in a very attractive
yeah,
way to make them
we
look
need to
good.
push back on that. They're gonna deliver it in July, but hey, the window of opportunities is open longer. We just want to get in line. We want to get that. Chamber is very supportive of that because obviously that's farmers market
Mhm.
restrooms
Right.
and they have a real challenge with that. But I was looking at the plaza and it just happens to be where a lot of things are happening, and now you're gonna
When you
plunk
say
down to
plaza, what exactly do you mean?
Walking Man.
That's what I figured. There's no, it's gonna be,
It's a little bit more interior than Walking Man, but it's within the sight line of the security cameras.
but it's gonna block the walking man, the beauty.
No, it's a little further in, but there's a big part of that. So you know where they do all the booths, right along that first edge of the grass? It's kind of just before that first edge of the grass. So it's between the Walking Man and when the grass starts. That's one of the sites. Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So it's a pretty long plaza. They didn't give us a lot of choices because between cameras and truck access,
And solar
it's
too,
very,
the
and they're
tree
solar.
cover. Yeah.
Oh, and solar.
And they're solar powered, so they have to be under the, so, you know, might want to beat things like hooray, but oh my gosh, what is this right in the middle of our public space? So, yeah, that to be continued. We'll see how that works.
I mean, for us, our biggest issues often are in the bathroom, around the bathroom, because they're not big enough, or that we don't have enough bathrooms, so I'm excited that maybe people will use those bathrooms and they won't even end up here to use our bathrooms.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you. Friends of the Library Communications, I forget who is.
At Friends of the Library, not, the person's name at Gmail or whatever. So they're still just plugging away and really making a lot of progress on that. I will say that, for 2025, they're on a calendar year budget. We just spent 17,000 of their dollars to get all new tables for the community rooms. So no more, when you're setting up for an event, you don't have to carry all those tables around. They're like, they roll and they flip up. So they take up a little bit more room storage wise, but since we got rid of the Steinway piano, we have a little bit more room. So that was really exciting. So they have a lot of money right now and are really supportive of all the things we've been asking for. So that was really
Are
exciting.
those tables like the ones we saw at those new libraries?
Yeah.
Those are
When did they get them?
Where did I get them?
When did they get those?
We just got them,
Just.
yeah, like two weeks
They
ago.
approved it, not this month, but last month.
It was part of our budget request, for the year. Usually we give them, here's what we want and here's our kind of big ticket wish list. So this was one of our big ticket wish lists. Yeah, they're really,
Yeah.
staff are just like, oh my God, like,
Pinch fingers and strain back.
yeah.
Right.
And hoisting them up onto the
Oh.
thing and it's horrible. So you just roll them around and it's really great. And they look nice, they look nice that you could have like a meeting in there and not be embarrassed to have people sitting at tables with crayon, and gum underneath. So it's really nice.
Thank you to the friends. That's
Yes,
great.
thank you to the friends.
Any other communications?
Nope.
Kathy, library?
Nothing.
Okay, I think we're up to, okay. With no further items or comments from staff or board members, I will now adjourn the meeting at 8:35 PM to our next meeting on June 12th at 7 PM.
Huzzah.
Thank you, everyone.